You want to know about impossible? Let me tell you about a kid from a village so small, most people never heard of it. Thal, Austria. Population, basically nobody. The kind of place where cows outnumber career opportunities about 1,000 to 1. This kid, he's growing up in a house with no plumbing. You read that right. No toilet inside. This is after World War II, and his father is a police chief who drinks too much and hits too hard. The old man wanted his sons to be police officers, maybe military men, respectable, normal, safe. But this kid, he's looking at magazines with guys who got muscles like marble statues. At 13 years old, he puts a picture of a bodybuilder above his bed. Not a movie star, not a footballer, a bodybuilder. His father thinks he's crazy. His mother worries. His brother just shakes his head. The thing is, in this tiny village, there's no gym, no weights, no equipment, nothing. So what does he do? He starts training at the local cinema building in the basement with whatever he can find. Makeshift weights, basic bars. He's maybe 15 and he's already obsessed. Not interested, not curious, obsessed. His father tells him bodybuilding is for homosexuals and narcissists. This is the 1960s in rural Austria, remember. Not exactly open-minded times, but the kid doesn't care. He trains 6 days a week, then 7. He skips social events. He doesn't chase girls like the other boys. He's got one thing in his mind, and it's burning there like a wildfire. Here's where it gets interesting. He starts reading American bodybuilding magazines. Can barely speak English, but he's looking at these pictures of California, of Muscle Beach, of guys like Reg Park who became Mr. Universe, and then went to Hollywood and made movies playing Hercules. And something clicks in his head. A vision. So clear it's like watching a movie of his future. He decides right there. He's gonna be the greatest bodybuilder in the world, then he's gonna go to America, then he's gonna be a movie star, then he's gonna be a millionaire. He tells people this. Imagine a teenager from a village nobody's heard of, with an accent so thick you could cut it with a knife, saying he's gonna be a movie star in Hollywood. They laughed at him. Of course they did. At 18, he joins the Austrian army, mandatory service. And there's a bodybuilding competition in Germany, Junior Mr. Europe. He's supposed to be in the barracks, but he goes AWOL, just leaves, sneaks out, hitchhikes to Germany, enters the competition, and wins. When he gets back, they throw him in military prison for a week. He's doing push-ups in his cell, happy as can be because he won. That trophy meant everything. The punishment? Nothing, just noise. After the army, he's training seriously now. At 20, he becomes Mr. Universe, the youngest ever. People in bodybuilding are noticing this oak tree of a man with the unpronounceable last name, Schwarzenegger. In America, people can't say it, can't spell it. How about we call you Arnold Strong, they suggest. He says no. The name stays. Now here's the part that gets me. He arrives in America with basically nothing. $20 in his pocket, maybe less. Speaks English like a caveman with a mouth full of rocks. His vocabulary is tiny. His grammar is worse. But he's got this belief in himself that's bigger than his biceps, and those are pretty damn big. He's sleeping on the floor of Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, training with the legends. Franco Colombo becomes his best friend, another immigrant from Italy. They're broke together, happy together, grinding together. They start a bricklaying business. Arnold Schwarzenegger, future action star, laying bricks in California, hands covered in mortar, saving every dollar. The other bodybuilders, they got jobs as waiters, construction workers, whatever. They train when they can, but Arnold, he's figured something out that nobody else has. He treats bodybuilding like a full-time job, like a career. He trains twice a day, every day. He studies nutrition like he's getting a PhD. He practices posing for hours. While other guys are working 8-hour shifts, he's in the gym, building his body like it's a masterpiece. And the mind games. Oh man, the mind games. Before competitions, he'd mess with people's heads, tell them they look small, tell them their arms look flat. He'd compliment someone's legs right before they go on stage, make them think about their legs instead of their whole physique, throw off their confidence. Psychological warfare. Some people hated him for it, but you know what? It worked. He wins Mr. Universe again, then Mr. Olympia, then again, then again, 7 times total. He's making money now from bodybuilding, from seminars, from bookings. He's investing in real estate. This is the part people forget. Before he ever made $1 from movies, he was already a millionaire from business deals. The bodybuilder with no college degree is buying apartment buildings in California. But Hollywood, that's a different beast. His first movie is Hercules in New York. It's terrible. They dub over his voice because his accent is too thick. Can you imagine? An actor whose voice is too rough for his own movie. The critics say he's got no future in film. Too big, too muscular, too foreign, that accent, that name, impossible to market. He takes acting classes, speech classes, works with a dialect coach, but he doesn't try to erase the accent completely. He's smart enough to know it makes him unique. Nobody else sounds like him. Nobody else looks like him. He's creating a brand without even knowing modern marketing terms. Small parts come. The Long Goodbye, Stay Hungry, where he actually wins a Golden Globe, but he's still the muscle man, the novelty, not the star. Then Pumping Iron comes out, the documentary about bodybuilding. People see his charisma, his humor, his presence. He's not just muscles, there's something there. But the breakthrough almost doesn't happen. Conan the Barbarian. The director, John Milius, wants him. The studio says no way, too unknown, too risky. They want a real actor. Milius fights for him, threatens to quit. Finally, they cave. Arnold gets the role. And you know what? He barely talks in that movie. Maybe 30 lines total. But he doesn't need to talk. His presence fills the screen. The movie's a hit. Suddenly, this Austrian bodybuilder is a Hollywood property. Then comes the pitch for The Terminator. It's a low-budget sci-fi film, and they want him to play the hero, Kyle Reese. He meets with James Cameron, and he's got all these ideas about how the Terminator should move, should act, should kill. Cameron's listening, thinking, and suddenly says, "You should play the Terminator." Arnold's not sure. The villain, the robot. It's a supporting role with even fewer lines than Conan. His agents tell him it's a bad career move, but something tells him it's right. He takes a pay cut. Does the movie for basically nothing. Becomes the most iconic movie villain of the 1980s with 2 main words: "I'll be back." Now he's a star. The accent that was supposed to end his career. It's his trademark, the body that was too big, perfect for action heroes, the name nobody could pronounce, on every marquee. Predator, The Running Man, Total Recall. He's getting $20 million a movie, the highest paid actor in Hollywood. But here's what separates Arnold from everyone else. He's not satisfied, not even close. Most people, they get to the top of one mountain, they plant a flag and rest. Not him. He looks around for the next mountain while he's still climbing the first one. He's in his 40s, mega famous, mega rich, and he starts thinking about politics. People think he's joking. The action hero wants to be a politician. The guy who made Kindergarten Cop wants to run something more than a movie set, but he's serious. Dead serious. He marries Maria Shriver, Kennedy family, American royalty. He's studying politics, meeting with advisors, learning policy. He's a Republican in Hollywood, which is like being a vegetarian at a steakhouse. Doesn't care. He's got his own mind. In 2003, California's having a recall election. The governor, Gray Davis, is getting kicked out. It's chaos. A circus. Dozens of people are running, including a porn star, a billboard model, and a child actor who used to say, "What you talking 'bout, Willis?" Nobody takes it seriously. Arnold announces on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. People laugh. Another celebrity thinking he can be a politician. But he's not just a celebrity. He's been preparing for years. He knows policy. He knows economics. He's run businesses. He's negotiated contracts that would make diplomats sweat. The campaign is brutal. They call him a Nazi because he's Austrian. They dig up every embarrassing movie scene, every stupid quote. Women come forward with stories about him being inappropriate on set. The media's feeding frenzy is insane. His poll numbers drop. People say he's done. But he keeps going. Town halls, debates, rallies, that work ethic from the gym. He brings it to campaigning. 18-hour days. His accent is still thick, but he turns it into an advantage. He's the immigrant who achieved the American dream. He's living proof that the system works. Election day, he wins. By a lot. The bodybuilder, the action star, the immigrant with the ridiculous name is now governor of California, the sixth largest economy in the world, more people than Canada, more complexity than most countries. And you know what? He actually works at it. People expecting a celebrity governor who shows up for photo ops and lets others do the real work. Wrong. He's in the office at 6 in the morning, reading briefings, meeting with experts, making decisions. He pisses off his own party by caring about the environment, signing climate change legislation. He works with Democrats. He makes enemies on both sides because he's trying to actually solve problems instead of playing team sports. Does he do everything right? No, nobody does. California's budget is a disaster. There are controversies. There are failures. But here's the thing, he shows up every day for 7 years. No salary, by the way. He donates his entire governor's salary to charity. The movie star who could be making $20 million a picture is working for free. Think about that journey. From a kid with no indoor toilet in Austria to the governor of California. From speaking maybe 50 words of English to giving speeches to millions. From sleeping on a gym floor to living in the governor's mansion. But it's not just the success that matters, it's how he did it. Every single step, people told him it was impossible, too big for movies, too foreign for America, too Hollywood for politics. Every single step, he proved them wrong, not by changing who he was, but by being more of who he was. The accent stayed, the muscles stayed, the confidence stayed. He didn't become American by erasing his Austrianness. He became American by adding it to what America already was. He expanded the definition. You want to talk about the American dream? That phrase gets thrown around so much it almost loses meaning. But this is it. This is the real thing, not just success, not just money, the freedom to reinvent yourself, the opportunity to fail and try again, the chance to come from nothing and become something, not despite where you came from, but because of everything you learned on the way. Arnold didn't have connections. He had a barbell and a dream. He didn't have money. He had a willingness to work harder than everyone else. He didn't have the right background. He created his own foreground. And the blueprint he used, it's simple, but it's not easy. First, see the vision. Not a vague wish, but a crystal clear picture of exactly what you want. He saw himself as Mr. Olympia before he won it. He saw himself in Hollywood before he got there. He saw himself in politics before he ran. The vision came first always. Second, ignore the doubters, not by fighting them, but by making them irrelevant. When people said his body was too big, he made it bigger. When they said his accent was too thick, he made it his signature. When they said he couldn't act, he picked roles that played to his strengths. He didn't argue with reality. He changed what reality wanted. Third, outwork everyone, not by a little bit, by a lot. While they slept, he trained. While they partied, he studied. While they made excuses, he made progress. There's no shortcut here, no hack, just work. Repetitive, boring, unglamorous work. Thousands of hours in the gym. Thousands of hours studying English. Thousands of hours learning policy. Fourth, be useful. He didn't just take from bodybuilding, he grew the sport. He didn't just make movies, he gave audiences something they wanted. He didn't just become governor, he tried to solve actual problems. Whatever field he entered, he added value. That's why people kept giving him chances. Fifth, stay hungry. The guy who had everything kept wanting more, not from greed but from ambition, from a desire to see what else was possible. He could have retired after bodybuilding. could have coasted in Hollywood, could have skipped politics entirely, but comfort was never the goal, growth was. There's a story he tells about visualization. Before competitions, he'd imagine his biceps as mountains, massive, immovable, perfect. He'd see the crowd cheering, feel the trophy in his hands, smell the backstage area. He lived the victory in his mind so many times that when it happened in reality, it felt familiar, like he'd been there before. That's not just positive thinking, that's programming. He programmed his mind to expect success, so his actions aligned with that expectation. He became the person who would win before he actually won. And the failures. There were plenty: movies that bombed, political initiatives that went nowhere, business deals that fell through. He had scandals, he had embarrassments. The end of his marriage was public and painful, but he didn't hide, didn't make excuses, acknowledged mistakes and moved forward. The vision was bigger than any single failure. You know what's crazy? Even after everything he achieved, people still doubted him at every turn. When he was Mr. Olympia, they said he'd never make it in movies. When he was the biggest action star in the world, they said he'd never transition to politics. When he was governor, they said he'd never be remembered as more than a celebrity politician. Every single time, he proved them wrong. The immigrant kid with the accent didn't just succeed in America. He became the embodiment of what America promises to be. A place where your starting point doesn't determine your ending point, where hard work actually matters, where reinvention is possible, where the only limits are the ones you accept. That house with no plumbing in Thal, it's still there. You can visit it. There's a museum now, the Schwarzenegger Museum. In the village that nobody heard of, they now have tourists coming from around the world to see where the kid from nowhere became everything. And that's the real story. Not that he was special from birth, not that he had unique talents nobody else could develop, but that he saw what he wanted, believed it was possible, and worked until it became real. Then did it again. Then did it again. Then did it again. 3 separate careers, 3 separate peaks: bodybuilding, Hollywood, politics. Most people can't master one field in a lifetime. He mastered 3, with an accent, starting with nothing, facing doubters every single step. The American dream isn't dead. It's just harder than people want to admit. It requires more work than most are willing to give, more failures than most are willing to endure, more belief than most are willing to maintain. But it's there, waiting, for anyone crazy enough to chase it. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't find the American dream. He built it, with his own hands, one rep at a time, one role at a time, one vote at a time. From a village with more cows than people to the governor's mansion of the most powerful state in the most powerful country on earth. You want to know why it works? Because he made it work. Because he refused to accept that where he came from determined where he could go. Because he turned every disadvantage into an advantage. Because he never, ever stopped believing that the next mountain could be climbed. That's not luck, that's not privilege. That's vision, work, and an absolute refusal to be limited by other people's imagination. That's the American dream, not given, earned, not easy, worth it. And somewhere right now, there's another kid in another small village looking at pictures of something impossible, dreaming about a future that nobody around them can see. Maybe they got an accent. Maybe they got no money. Maybe they got no connections. But if they got that vision, that work ethic, that refusal to quit, they got a chance, a real one. Because if the oak from Thal could do it, starting with nothing but a dream and a barbell, then maybe, just maybe, so can they.